going on, everybody? My name is Joppa, if you didn't know, and we are going to be getting into some Pantheon development today. But before we do, we're going to play a little EQ Guesser. If you've not been around the channel before, ever, or if it's been a while, we used to have this little tradition, if you will, pretty consistently, where we did a little thing called EQ Guesser. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you've ever played GeoGuessr or anything like that, then you'll understand the premise. It helps to be familiar with EverQuest, though, I will say that. The way this works is I am going to share a link with you all. You can follow that link. It'll put you kind of with the rest of us, and then we'll see a series of images from different places in Norath from EverQuest, and we'll need to guess where on the map those are. And we get to do it together and compete with each other. And it's a lot of fun. Even though, you know, if I do say so myself, I'm pretty tough to beat. Pretty tough to beat. Before we get into that, we're going to say hello to Kurgan. Welcome. Glorf, Fringe, Cut Off Your Head, Dosi, J. Cole, Tanhawk, Wolfgar, Tabix, Ginjan, Alinar, Xscore, Black Fox. Welcome to you all. Joskar, good to see you. Stoli, good to see you. Kronzik, welcome. Mordred as well. We've got Supajawa, Tabix, Salted Hash, Velkinks, Sufferance, Eternal. Sufferance Eternal. Nightwatch MMORPG, Dude, Andrew, Mevidim, good afternoon to you as well, Mevidim. Hey, yo, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Appreciate that big time. Kronzik with the Joppa hype. And what is that now, Kronzik? This is a 30 stream streak. 30 stream streak. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being here. Our YouTube friends as well. We've got Skiach, Dennis Bestie, Supajawa in both places. PA, Eamon, and Mjolnir. Welcome to you guys as well. Welcome indeed. Do Rogue still have the explosive? I quit when it was added. Weird hill to die on, I know, but the flavor of that ability in a fantasy game bothered me. Yeah, we changed that a while back to a the explosive decoy. It's kind of a part of like several different effects that rogues have based on like incoming events or damage or things like that. So there's like a damaging one, there's a healing one, there's one that grants opportunity. It's meant to be kind of the, instead of like an absorb shield on incoming damage, it's actually like an effect trigger on incoming damage. You are omnipresent, yes. Gwimchim, what's up, Gwimchim? Stoli, welcome to you as well. If I hadn't said it already, maybe I did. And if I did, it's okay. I think I did. But welcome again. Welcome. So, EQ Guesser. EQ Guesser. We're going to do classic settings, kind of traditional settings. So this is 45 seconds, 5 rounds, pan. You can't move, but you can circle around your view. And looking for group, yeah. So let's do this. We're going to, here's the link for you guys. Yeah. I will give you a few moments to get started, just to kind of put a little gap in there, and then we'll see where we land. Hopefully you guys are having a good week. It's been a very, very productive week. It seems like there's no end to the things that are there to be excited about, you know, as we see the progress that we're making from week to week. Really pleased. Excited to start talking about some of this stuff very soon. We're actually going to take just a quick little look at some some of the stuff we're looking at and talking about with Summoner today. So we're not going to be doing like anything like a full, expose or anything like that. But talk about a few little things related to the Summoner. We'll take a look at some of the places we left off on Wednesday, or on Monday, I mean, and see where those have progressed, and then see if we can tackle a few more updates along the same lines of what we were doing on Monday. And then I want to get back into some gameplay again today. So we are going to transition to that a little bit later. Okay. I think that's a good amount of time. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's do this. I feel like we always start in permafrost. I don't know about you guys, but it just seems like we see this a lot. That's all I'm saying. We see it a lot. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So weird little place here. I mean, I'm just gonna go somewhere like right in this area because I don't know where this is. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay. Sometimes that's all it takes, guys. Like sometimes that little miss is all it takes. Okay. This is definitely in Toxulia. I don't know what side of the bridge it's on, though, but we can find out if we're paying attention. I'm going to say we're on this side. I'm going to say we're like right here. I'm going to say we're like right there. Okay. Should have gone equidistant. Should have got... It's like my rule, my one rule, and I didn't keep it. Okay. I don't know why. It's because I didn't spend a whole lot of time in either place. So I always kind of merge Payneal and the whole together. I think I only went to the whole like twice total. I'm just gonna say we're like right here. Yeah, because the little square pool, that's what gave it away. Okay. Do I know about the BRK boss trigger being broken? I have heard rumblings and rumors. I haven't connected with anybody directly, though, on the team about, like, what it is or what specifically is going on. Or if it's, in fact, broken. I've just heard the rumblings. Rivervale. Where's my brain right now? Why Rivervale? Here. No, here. Goodness gracious. Like, here? Nope. There. Other side. Once again, equidistant would have been better. It's okay. Yes. Yes. We know this one well. We know it well. Go deeper in here. Assuming that's like top floor. Yeah. So this is going to be, there's a fireplace in here. There's a bedroom. Gotta hustle, so the bed is, I don't know, guys. I think maybe it's probably wrong. It's probably down here. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad. Oof. Man, I tell you what. If it isn't the usual suspects, you know? If it isn't the usual suspects. Alinar and Black Fox. Wow. I mean, Alinar, you had almost, maybe nothing else is coming to mind as far as a more closely perfect game. That's crazy. I beat Glorf by 4 points. That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is wild right here. Like, you don't see very many zeros. You just don't. Because even when you know exactly where it is, it's hard to get that pixel just right. Yeah, Alinar, this is crazy. I mean, what else can you say? Like, well done. That's huge round. Huge round. Very well done. And Black Fox, I mean, probably the GOAT of EQ Guesser. Most first place finishes, most round wins, I think, out of anybody. So yeah, I mean, two legends in the EQ Guesser circuit here, coming in first and second. I'm not going to be too upset about it. I'm not going to take it too hard that I got bumped down. Yeah, full perfect 25,000 point round. That's awesome. Let it be known. Let it be known. Okay, well, Alinar, you know what that means. You get to choose the round, the parameters for the next round. So what will it be? What will it be? Question for the springtime wipe. What comes after? Is it more early access or will it be considered a launch? It is not considered a launch, so we will still be in development once we wipe in the spring. We will be very, very clear about when we hit that 1.0 official launch of the game. So yeah, it'll be it is a reset, but we will be continuing on in development. Yep. Go again, no pan. Ooh. Okay. So, but you want to keep everything else the same. So this is kind of a pseudo lightning round. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you bet, Putsy. You bet. No, I don't think you can move either. I think this is like totally locked in place. Hey, what's up? Oi, Johnny boy. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, I see, Dennis. Okay, roger that. Yeah, I'll make a quick note of that. So we can ask about it and see. Yeah, no move, no pan. Well, no move is like kind of part of our baseline rules. Pretty much always do no move. And usually do pan. So no pan. I think, yeah, just I took that to mean no pan. But he confirmed it himself. So we're doing no move, no pan, 45 seconds, 5 rounds, looking for group, classic. Let's send it. Here we go. Dropping the link. What a troll. What a troll, Glorf. What a troll. All right. Good luck. Remember, no movement, no pan. So what you see is what you get. So lock in. Lock in. Is this the new combat system? I couldn't think of anything witty to say in time. No, it's not. But it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a It's kind of a tradition here that is less tradition-y than it used to be, but from time to time we will get some rounds of EQ Guesser in. A few more moments. A few more moments. Let's see. Okay. All right, here we go. Yes. Very much like old stomping grounds for me. Question is, what side are we on? I feel like this is the EK side. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with my gut. Might be wrong. Nice. Nice. Okay. Off to a good start. You know, sometimes they give you too much information, you know? My first thought was Blackborough. But I feel like this is Blackborough. Okay. I do not recognize this place at all. Oh, this is gonna be, man, what a fall. What a fall. A descent from my last round. I mean, it's giving Nectulo or Neriak, it's giving Mistmore. I really don't think it's Mistmore though, but at this point I'm out of time. It was Neriak. Okay. Gee, I wonder where this is. I really don't like Lava Storm ones. I don't have good like way making in this zone. The only times I ever went here was I zoned in and immediately went to the right, go to Najina, or I zoned in and like just ran straight through to get to the lava pit. I never leveled in here. I never like did anything in here, so I'm going just equidistant. Safe route. Yep. Oh man. Okay. This is well, see, this is also giving Neriak and Sol B. And I was gonna say Sol B, but it's like there's like no decorations at all. Like there's no skins, there's no, but it looks very Sol B-ish in terms of its layout. Oh man. And also very Neriak-ish. I'm going Neriak. And I'm probably wrong, but that's what I'm doing. I don't even know where in Neriak, so that's gonna be a fail. It was Sol B. Yep. Gosh. Wow, this round grabbed me and shook me like a dog pretty much the whole time. That was awful. Wow. I mean, just, you know, what is this? Wow. It's so different when you can't pan. Like there you just, it's that little bit of context that you can't get when you can't pan, you know? Whew. All right. Well, like I said, Black Fox, you didn't disappoint. First place. Well done. Well done. Wow. In second place, we had buffed green Nectulos Spider. Who came in second? Is that you, Glorf? Spider Glorf? Okay. Congratulations. Well done. Second place is nothing to sneeze at. Nothing to sneeze at. Well done. And then in third, we had Invised Light Blue Kedge Mermaid. Wow. That's an interesting one. Who took home third place today? Invised Light Blue Kedge Mermaid. Us had the right? Yes, I will. I will make a note now. Who's going to take home third place? I mean, it's going once. You gotta stand up and say, hey, it was me. It's going twice. Okay. Then, unfortunately, our third place winner is going to go down in obscurity because we don't slide it to the next person. We don't slide it to the next person. It is what it is. If you came in third place, you came in third place. If you came in fourth place and it was really close, you still came in fourth. So, no slidesies. No slidesies. Well done. I don't even want to talk about my performance because wow. So, yeah. We'll move on. But congratulations to our winners. Black Fox, Alinar with what might have been a record game. A perfect 25k score. And then we've got Black Fox in second in the first round, in first in this round. We got Glorf coming in second here. Good job, guys. Well done. This one was tricky. Indeed. Fifth place, that's not bad. Fifth place is not bad. What did I miss here? So, Andrew, yeah, every once in a while, this used to be something we did on the stream almost like every time, is EQ Guesser. We'll definitely do it again. But EQ Guesser is kind of like a GeoGuessr for EverQuest. It's just kind of a little warm-up thing we do on the stream from time to time to reminisce about EverQuest and test our metal, how well we remember. And it's really fun. So, but we'll do it again. If you missed it, we'll do it again. All right. Well, okay. let's transition here to some Pantheon dev, to be specific. We're gonna hop in, take a quick look at where we left off last time, and get our bearings a little bit. A couple of other odds and ends that I want to hit. A few questions I want to ask you guys as well, just to get some feedback, and then we'll switch to some actual play session. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The cool thing about EQ Guesser is you can do it as a like a large-scale multiplayer thing. So it has a looking for group option, which allows me to share the link with you guys, and then we can all play the same round and then compete, you know, to see who gets the highest score. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Let's hop in on the shaman this time. Very good, very good. We're back in the editor for this one, so you'll have to forgive the chug in certain circumstances. I was able, so if you were on the stream Monday, you'll remember we were running into some interesting issues with having some of these NPCs animate properly. I was able to connect with Kyle on that. We got it sorted. And so our warriors are properly animating now. Our trainees, they're shield bashing, they're slashing, they're doing their thing. I want to have one of them. I'll probably keep it as this one here, doing the sword and board. And then the other one I want to do actually some dual wielding. Let's get a little variety in there. And then we're going to get Viros to kind of move back and forth between them. I just haven't gotten to like the warrior area yet, but we at least got that working. I was also able to do more work on the monk area once we got that issue sorted. Kind of got back into my groove and was able to take a look at you know, one of the things I like about monks and monk areas, and one of the things I remember, you guys might even remember this too, from EQ, of course, we've got patches coming in like crazy, so we'll have to deal with this off and on. But you probably remember, it was an easy fix. Yes, it was an easy fix, but it was the kind of thing that I would have never, like, sometimes it just takes Kyle, like, kind of understanding what's going on, and he's like, oh, well, you just need to do this. And I wouldn't have, as much as I've done this, it's just one of those weird things. I wouldn't have thought of it. Hold on. Let me just make sure. Anyway, what I was saying is you probably have a similar memory as I do if you played monks a lot in EQ or just generally liked monks. But in Eastern Freeport, they had the monks that were sparring. And I always thought that was really cool. And it's something that I like seeing when you come to monk areas, you know, them actually sparring with each other and, you know, practicing things. In addition to like the larger scale kind of group training where you have like the Sifu or the master or the teacher in front, and then, you know, kind of that Shaolin vibe, I think is really cool. So I feel like the monk area came together pretty well for all intents and purposes. So we'll take a look at that as soon as we can stay logged in here. Why do the Racken animations when wearing the Racken ring equip weapons backward and the shield sideways? Great question. Great question indeed. It's because we need to get additional support in the illusion graphs, the graphs that govern like being able to use an illusion and turn it into a different model to actually properly hide and disable the sheathing. The grind, that's a pretty big question. There's, a lot of like variables that go into that. How long would it take somebody who just absolutely no lifes the game, who focuses only on the most optimal way to level, doesn't do any kind of like horizontal things or anything like that. That's going to be a different estimated time frame from somebody that's played the game kind of, I guess, more in a mid-core kind of, I don't know, standard way. I don't know the right way to say it. 2 to 4 hours a day kind of thing, somewhere around in there. But either way, like, I'm staying away from like estimates on that right now, because until we have a chance to get the new experience stuff, the new experience changes on the public test realm, once that's out, and put it through its paces and make some final tweaks to that, I don't really want to say anything too concrete about it just yet. How's late game content these days? I haven't played since about June. 48 Dire Lord. There's definitely more now than there was then. And we'll have... trying to think of what we can talk about yet. I don't know if we can talk about any of the other things yet, but definitely more on the way. Yeah. But yeah, the monk area here, so... There they are. So updated their character models. So Master Coman actually, kind of has Grandmaster Coman. Excuse me. Grandmaster Coman has a little bit more aura now. We've got the training going on. Cleaned up this terrace a little bit. There was quite a few. There's just a lot of NPC clutter here. So actually moved to create the 2 sparring monks. I moved them just off the terrace completely and just kind of set them up over here where they can do their thing. But yeah, we can't have them totally in sync yet. Like, eventually I'd like to have them like totally in sync, including the instructor, where have the instructor do something and then have them all kind of do it in turn. So this is kind of a step in that direction. I had it close, but because of the way that I'm setting it up right now, it's eventually going to get out of sync anyway, so I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on that. Yep, synchronized training movements. How is this MMO going to be different than any other MMO? You have competition like Warhammer Online, and the game is free focused PvP MMO. How's it going to be different? So, I mean, the main way that it's going to be different, I'd say right off the rip, is just the kind of game that we're making. Intentionally embracing the classic MMORPG framework and a lot of the DNA and the spirit of classic MMORPGs, which you just don't really see much anymore. But our specific edge, our specific kind of niche in that regard is by kind of marrying that classic spirit and DNA with a degree of kind of modernized feel and polish and quality of life. Not to the degree that we lose the kind of that old school classic DNA, but that it's less of a barrier to entry for, you know, people that are used to playing modern MMOs that have a certain level of polish and quality of life and accessibility. So in some ways, we're trying to kind of bridge that gap a little bit and create an entry point for people that just wouldn't really play classic MMOs otherwise, because maybe they didn't have the experience of it themselves when they were growing up, or they don't feel like they have the time, or you know, want to deal with like a lot of what they feel is just kind of like a cumbersome lack of quality of life or polish or access points. So that's one of the things that definitely makes us different. I tweaked this a little bit more, by the way, this vibe. I put a little bit of color back into it, but I also added like a vignette around the screen a little bit to kind of make it feel a little bit different, and then still have some good desaturation going on in here. But I feel like this is, I feel like it's a really good spot. Like it's in a really nice spot now, where it feels different enough from like the rest of the world as you're running around. Like you can see all that color come back in. So you definitely, it's meant to feel kind of like oppressive and kind of like, you know, but it's not quite as desaturated. So it's still got a little bit of the color, a little bit of the fantasy vibe going on, but definitely feels different. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's going to be a big factor for Pantheon in terms of like why Pantheon, you know, when you could play this game or that game, or, you know, there's all these other MMOs out there. What is it about Pantheon that makes it worth anybody's time? And I think that sums up a big part of it. I mean, there's lots of like specific differentiators and systems within our game that also make it a unique experience to play. That I think gives it on its own like some pretty solid merit as a good choice for an MMO to really sink into. But I definitely see that as one of the main hooks, you know, one of the main driving factors of why you would play this game over something else. Should have gone with more of a brown tone instead of the blue. That's a fair point. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, you know? I hadn't even thought about that. Brown, yeah. I am still doing a lot of work on Certrius. A lot of work. And one of the decisions that I made, because this, as I've gone through it more, I feel like he and kind of the backstory that, I mean, he's going to be a really cool anchor point for some good paladin stuff. And I think I'm going to take him off of his routine and just station him up here at the temple. And I've already started developing a little bit of dialogue for him around that. So let me actually do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and slide him over. I hope the removal of the fog effect there is an actual change they're making. What are you talking about, Glorf? I think the hardest sell for Pantheon is people playing long enough to get hooked by it in order to understand the values or progression that really has going for it. Yeah, I agree. And we talk about that a lot. That's a consistent talking point for us, is those first 5 to 10 levels. Like, they really need to, you know, they really need to be special. They really need to do something special. And there's a few key things that need to be communicated in those first 5 to 10 levels to, you know, give players a chance to kind of get it and feel it before they bounce off, not realizing what's here, you know? Yeah. Yeah, well, getting a little bit more clarity back in that area is definitely one of the goals. There is meant to be a little bit of like fog there, but it's meant to be a different kind of fog, not like we had before. So I actually tried a lot of different things with that area just to get a feel for it. What we could do there, tried like chromatic aberration and some interesting like depth of field and even like film grain and a couple of different things to try and get like a vibe, but just ended up, kind of opting to something more simplistic. And I think the vignette really honestly just carries a lot of it. Glad that's a popular topic. I'll never forget when talents unlocked after getting to level 10 and WoW, and that being such a hook to want to progress further in the game. Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's a great example. I played EQ. My wife never played an MMO. She did D&D. This game is perfect for both of us. Good. Nice. Nice. Played P99 before we could get back and get in. She really appreciated the core tenants without the 1999 interference. Yeah. Oh, yeah, wait. Boop. Okay. Sorry if this is a question that was covered in recent notes. Are you going to fully implement mastery points to the game on this next reset? Yes. Yep, that's a big part of what's coming in the spring is the introduction of the mastery system kind of as a whole. And that includes, gaining mastery points, having the class-specific mastery trees to spin those points in. And yeah, it's going to be a really big part of it for sure. Yeah, you bet, the Twitch. Without the 1999 interface. Well, I think interference is an interesting word too, because what I thought you were saying is without the kind of that necessary clunkiness that came with that time, because that's all there was, right? And we remember back to it very fondly, those of us that played EQ in 1999. Like that was, I mean, this is the kind of thing where it's like you think back to going link dead or getting disconnected or the lag or the, some of the clunkiness of the mechanics or like the intense, punishing like downtimes or, I don't know. There's lots of things that I think back to for myself to answer the question of like what made MMOs like more cumbersome and clunkier in the 1999 era. And so the key is like threading the needle properly to say like what are the things that truly did have charm, that truly did have like more of like a timeless value to making that a very special experience that we want from our MMORPGs right now today, and maintaining those things and heightening those things and whatnot, versus like what is the interference of like what would actually interfere with an enjoyable game experience today if we were to just transplant it, into a modern, what's meant to be a modern game. So it's an interesting thing to navigate for sure, because we don't have the luxury of like having a direct reference. We have to be kind of constantly weighing that of like, you know, EverQuest and its contemporaries did it like this. WoW changed it and did it like this. And without wanting to be necessarily a carbon copy of either of them, it's like, okay, how would that evolve? Like, how could that have evolved from how it was in EQ or DAOC or Asheron's Call or, you know, Ultima? We see where they took it with WoW. How could it have evolved differently to maintain more of the magic of what was there, but still move it forward? So it's just an interesting exercise. It can sometimes take a little bit to really get it right. Okay, so we want to grab Certrius. We're actually gonna get rid of this routine because I don't know, this routine just doesn't add much. I honestly, I don't like seeing him walk around. It's always kind of bugged me a little bit. I think we're gonna put him. We're gonna put him right here. Actually close to the water. Far, like, you know, kind of about as far away from the temple as he can be standing and still be technically on the temple structure. That's what we're gonna do. How have horses affected things? How is Silent Plains these days? And is there a new crafting tier yet? Not on the crafting, no. But there's a lot of crafting updates coming in the spring as well. I think horses on the whole have been great. I think they've been great. We've been able to start, you know, getting a lot of data on how they feel and how we want to potentially tweak them, improve them. And generally speaking, it's been, I think, relatively seamless as far as integrating that side of things. We do have refinements and things that we want to do with it that we'll do in time, but I think it's been solid so far. Gotten a lot of feedback on the tail, so definitely know kind of what we want to do there. But again, you know, the goal is to create some variety. When I think back then, it's more the friends I made that made the adventure more fun and not a chore. Today's games seem less focused on community and more on the solo aspect of it. Andrew, are you talking about when you say that about the story and emotional hook? Are you talking about Pantheon, or are you talking about just more kind of in general? The tail. Top of that high point above Oceanside that sort of looks like the Thronefast caster starter area. Is that going to be another town? No, that is actually an abandoned watchtower that is abandoned since the tragedy at Azarus, in the Vale of Azarus. So there's like a whole thing there. Like that's a whole like thing. But yeah, it's not a town. It's an abandoned watchtower. Yo, what's up, Mr. Steel Rose? Good to see you. Yes, Tilbo. Yes. Oh, sorry, the Twitch. It's not, maybe there was there may have been ads, but yeah, that's going to be a really big part of the spring update is getting mastery in. Yeah. I don't think you're gonna find just to follow up on that, Ryan. I don't think you're gonna find anything in the lore explicitly about that watchtower. At least in terms of like what we've publicly released. That's a good example of, you know, that's something you'll find out in game. There's definitely things related to the Veil of Azarus. I think there's some publicly released stuff related to the Veil of Azarus. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident that there is, to give you an idea of like some of what happened there, but there's a lot of implications for Thronefast and the surrounding areas because of what happened there. That'll be things you'll find out about, you know, in game. Yeah, T-Chief, yes. In fact, that's one of the main things that I'm trying to do. See, I feel like Certrius is something's off about him, and that's why he's having the issues he's having. You know what? Remember yesterday when I was like, or on Monday when I was like, why is he not following his routine? He was like walking, his routine was clearly in the middle of the road, but he was like walking in the grass. Clearly there's something in the root of this NPC that's wrong. So let's figure this out right now. Because I placed him right on the corner of that. I have a feeling his root's off. Okay. He's just, yeah. That's something I'll dig into later off stream. Looks like Bascom. He does kind of look like Bascom a little bit. Look, he does. So what I was going to say about Certrius is, to the question, who said it? T-Chief. You said, I feel like I understand almost none of the lore unless I explicitly go looking for it online. Is the plan to integrate any of that in a meaningful way? The answer is absolutely yes. And as I'm going through this process and trying to lay some groundwork for, you know, the others that are going to be joining me and working on these types of things, I'm earmarking as I go through places where we want to do some of those deeper dives, and that's kind of where I've settled with Certrius, is one of those characters that gives a lot of good opportunity to introduce several things. So Certrius is a paladin, so it's an opportunity to talk a little bit about what a paladin is, what's the difference between a paladin and a cleric, why would a cleric become a paladin, why did Certrius himself become a paladin, But it also gives us a chance to talk about Coursera. And like how she is viewed by humans, by paladins, clerics, things like that. And then there's other things, you know, too, that we can explore here. And so still in the process of doing a lot of that. I'll give you guys a quick little taste. Let me maximize here. State your business. Is this a temple of Coursera? Yes, it serves Coursera. This temple stands for protection, record, and preparation. Coursera shaped those duties and we faithfully uphold them. Clerics serve here through study and care for those in need. He glances at the water. Paladins like myself pass through to steady our resolve. Who is Coursera? She is the protector of the holy. She guarded the defenseless. She stood between the living and what sought to drag them down. Coursera guided us openly before the silence. We leaned on her steadiness. We learned from her example. After the deicide war, her voice fell away. He takes a deep breath, looking out over Avelia. What remains of Coursera lives in discipline, in righteous pursuit, in the refusal to abandon people when danger presses close. Are you a paladin? Yes, I started in Coursera's halls like many do. Clerics hold Avelia together in ways most people never notice. What do you mean? In the city, the order works at scale. Wards, hospitals, records, rotations. You learn coordination there and how many lives depend on timing. Avelia teaches a different lesson. You learn names here. Which family needs a visit before dusk? I moved between the two early on. Throne fast for training, Avelia for service. That's how Father Kalman found me. And that's where I've stopped. But this gives you a taste of, like, again, it's about, as you do interact with some of these NPCs, that you're learning more about, I mean, lots of different things. And again, like I told you guys, when we talk about this whole verisimilitude piece, it means that the places in the world and the people in the world are able to leave an imprint on you, so that you leave a conversation or you leave an area feeling like you are connected to it. You have a sense of what it is and its place in the world and some of the characters and whatnot. So that's what these things are all about. And I'll give you another taste that I think does a particularly good job as well over in the monk area. And then, yeah, so, and in that example, it's a great framework for us to introduce class-specific dialogue options as well, but also options that open up to you based on your, like we've talked about with like flagging, right? Where you can, as you do different things throughout the game world, as you have different conversations and whatnot, that might open up options to you that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Like in this area, you've got Tafa here. Please don't distract me from Master Gatsu's instruction. He's breathing heavily with fatigue. This is my last chance at a peaceful life. I ran away from Rulun. Life on the seas suited my father. It wasn't for me. I left everything behind. Mother, siblings. And if you're a monk, you know, you could actually, you know, maybe press him a little bit more and get him to, I didn't even scroll all the way down on that one, did I? There was more to read there, but you'll have to do that yourself. But then after you talk to him, it's like, you know, maybe they'll still be willing to talk to you, maybe they won't. These conversations, the plan is to eventually have them in the Tome of Keeping, where you can have kind of a record of the NPCs you've talked to and be able to go back through and read through the conversations you've had with them and whatnot. So let me see if we get one. There's one of the things that these, I think they have been saying it anyway. You guys have probably read it already. Talking about like feigning. Hopefully you can feign death their way out of the class. Yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about, Joppa. Reasons to invest in the NPC story. This is great. Yeah. Yep. No wonder that guy can't sleep. People keep jumping on his roof all the time. I am guilty. I totally jump on this dude's roof constantly running through here. That's hilarious. Yeah. When thinking about hooking new players, would it be possible to get voiceovers in for like starter places and other POIs? It comes up a lot, and one of my main misgivings about going that route or even opening that door is, where do you cut it off? Where do you cut it off that doesn't feel abrupt or jarring? So if you have, you know, this really cool voiceover in the first few levels or in kind of a starting area, and then it falls off, is that going to be better or worse than having not had it at all? And I don't know the answer to that. You know, that's something that, you know, I'm still processing. If we did it with something like AI, if we used AI to do it, then it would be much more viable. But then, you know, that gets into that whole realm of like, you know, do we want to go that route? Because I'm not, it's just tricky. The developer in me is like, yeah, that's great. Like, let's do that, because then we can that just adds to the immersion of the game. It becomes much more viable to potentially get that in place. But then as somebody, as an artist, as a creator, as a gamer, as somebody that even has an interest in voice acting myself, there's that other side of me that's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I've never really sat down and thought about it to the extent where I've come to a conclusion of like, I would be okay with that or not, or whatever. But I'm trying to stay cognizant of the fact that AI is not going away, and it's only going to be getting better. And to the degree that it can be used, like, I draw a line between AI slop, which is like just literally like not having, well, I mean, there's several lines to be drawn actually. There's like true AI slop, which is literally like very minimal involvement from a person, from a creative, from an artist, from anything, and it's just allowing AI to just kind of build something. And then there's degrees all the way down through on your way towards the other extreme, which is like, don't want AI to even touch anything. And I certainly think there is a reasonable argument, as AI advances and as more and more games, more and more companies, more and more things use it, to consider what is AI wielded by like actual human minds and hands with a creative vision, who is leveraging AI as a tool to kind of create an actual vision a certain way. I think that's when you get into more reasonable conversations about it. But again, it's just not, it's something that I don't really have a strong stance right now on that. It's just not something we're planning to do. So at the moment. Yeah, flange. Well, so the thing that gets tricky about, because voice acting is expensive, number one. It's also, it's a completely new arm of a project to manage, because the amount of dialogue that you need, recording it all, mixing it all, like just developing it all, and then managing it all. And then, for example, let's say you end up down the road needing to change something, need to change a dialogue line, or you need to adjust, you know, whatever. Now you're not only having to go back and do it in text, but you're also now having to go back and potentially re-record new dialogue and various things. So it's just a very complex thing to manage, which is why if we did it, I would be interested in kind of like seeing what PVL thinks about doing it, kind of getting a sanity check from them. And then, yeah, like, you know, how deep do we go? There's a difference between fully voice acted versus like, you know, vocalizations that are representative. So, but I think with the perception system, I believe that the game can stand well enough on its own without it. I don't think that we need voice acting. Ultimately, I see it as a nice to have. I see it as a definitely a enhancement to the immersion of the game, but I don't see it as a necessity. So, okay, real quick, I'm going to look at a couple of things here. I want to look at some of the updated Summoner VFX visuals and see kind of how those are going along. They're still in progress, so this is, you know, we're not looking at anything finished necessarily here. We're just looking at some new things coming in to support some of the updates to the class. Yeah. Oh yeah, guys, believe me. Like I'm very aware of like the potential backlash as well. I am very aware of that. So I'm not. I didn't. I did not mention that, but I'm certainly aware of it. Okay. That is cool. Is this the old one, right? Yeah. Some of you will know where we're going with the those mana threads. Some of you will recognize that. Okay. Okay. I really should get out of play mode with this. Okay. Oh, let's see. Currently creating an AI-driven multi-layered NPC behavior tool for my game. AI is incredible for game dev while still maintaining creative control. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I definitely use AI and use it more and more in my everyday life in terms of like even, I mean, whether it's like organizing things. I use it to synthesize feedback. There are things that I've trained it on purposefully to kind of be able to query it, and get information quickly. I'll use it as a sounding board sometimes, with some of the things that I've trained it on. And the list certainly goes on. I've become very aware of like some of the what it can do with music. I'm a little slow. I'm kind of like more slowly becoming aware of what it's capable of doing with music. That I've been pretty there's this weird tension because it's like part of me is like it's really cool. It's really cool, like how well it can capture genres and various things. And then the other side of me is like, when I because I was a musician and a songwriter, and I remember going through that phase like in high school and college where I was writing music a lot and trying to write lyrics and make songs and all this stuff and performing them and various things. And as my oldest son has been picking up the guitar more and kind of he's got a great voice and he's just going to be a much better musician than I was for sure. But it's that like that tension of like I don't want him, for example, going to AI to write lyrics. Like I want him to have that experience of wrestling with an idea and trying to get feelings into words and thoughts into language that other people can relate to. And but then at the same time it's like hey, if AI existed when I was in high school and college and I could more easily create like musical hooks by just I can't say I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have used it because I would have probably written better songs, so it's just this weird place, so it's just a weird place, and it's gonna hit you differently depending on how old you are, like your stage of life, what experiences you've had. For younger generations, like they don't have anywhere near the same reservations, I would say the majority of them anyway. Yeah, Legrand, absolutely. I mean, stuff like that, it's hard to deny. Yo, Dennis, take care, man. Thanks for being here. Have a good drive home. Doesn't bother you that AI was trained on stolen creative works? Well, so break that down for me a little bit, because maybe this is me misunderstanding, but like, let's say, for example, that I want to I'm trying to think of a good example. If I wanted AI to create a piece of concept art, okay, and for Pantheon, let's say I wanted AI, I wanted to create a piece of concept art for Pantheon, and so my process, if I did, was feeding AI, like, let's say I wanted to create a concept art piece for like a build, like a house, and I find all of our concept art related to houses, like stuff that Jared has Jared Pullen and Forrest Immel and Brett Knuckles, like they've all of the concept art that they've created that has houses, and I feed all that into AI, and I say, you know, study this, like this is your framework, because I want you to try to create a concept art for, you know, an alternate version of a house based on this as our art style. This is our kind of range of residences that we have. In that scenario, when you say that, you know, AI is trained on stolen creative work. Now I understand if I go in and I say, hey, just like create a house, create a house for like that's, you know, themed for a fantasy MMORPG. I totally understand where that's going to just pull from all kinds of things and we have no idea where it's coming from. But if it's like, you know, here's your knowledge base, like here's your framework, you can only think and look and hallucinate within this realm. I've been under the impression that keeps it from reaching out beyond that into kind of that ethical problem area. But maybe I'm misunderstanding. Let's see. By the way, just to slide in a little bit of a summoner being here, one of the decisions that we've made with the Fury is to, and hold on to your butts, because some of you may not like this, but in the interest of transparency and, you know, kind of like open development here, we decided to switch the Fury from fire to magic. Specifically to give summoners a little bit of a bit more distance between wizards and the elemental, kind of the straight on elemental aspects of wizards. And because we don't have like a don't really have a dedicated magical DPS class, and so between the Fury and the Zephyr, now you have the magic damage of the Fury and the physical damage of the Zephyr. And in making that change, I just think it positions them a little bit better. It keeps them, if they want to have a more castery range DPS pet, if it was a fire pet, it's the same reason why we ultimately built wizards, to have multiple schools that they could lean into, because when you go against something that's very fire resistant, then you end up in, you know, kind of a bad territory there. So this actually gives the summoner a little bit of a, without having to go into the same schools, I think it just positions them better. So. Thank you guys for holding on to your butts. I appreciate that. Hello from Copenhagen, super chill vibe in this stream, Joppa. Yo, what is going on? Thank you for being here. I'm glad it's chill. We do try to keep it a little chill around here, so I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for being here. That's awesome. Copenhagen, that's cool. That's really cool. Is there a chance we get controller support? Steam Machine is around the corner. I mean, I wouldn't Yes, Wolfgar, you can let go of your butt now. Yes, you can let go of your butt. I wouldn't rule it out. We already have people playing on the Steam Deck, and reasonably well. Not perfect, but reasonably well. There are a couple of MMOs, even with as complex as they can be, that have actually done controller support fairly well. So I wouldn't rule it out. And I'll just say it. The older I get, and the more that sitting at a computer hurts after a while, you know, the 10 years ago me would have been like, what? No, what? The current me is like, well, you know, I don't know if that would be so bad. But the key is, you know, we don't want to necessarily, we just want to be careful not to like dumb it down, you know. It would have to be done in a way where we didn't have to dumb the game down and you know, detract from the PC experience. So it's still a TBD. All right, so let's see. We probably just get a play mode here. Oh, I like that Fury idea. Perhaps change the name from an angry name like Fury to something more magical like Fairy. I'm sure the summoners would love that. Yeah, I mean, you can be furious and have a fury to you with magical damage for sure. For sure. Let's get into Throne Fast though. By the way, Psychosis Gaming, I am so sorry I missed your Prime sub. Thank you so much for your Prime sub. Thank you for the 9 months of support. Apologies for missing that. Thank you, thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the Final Fantasy 14 feels like the true north of, you know, how to do it well. Yeah. Summoners are definitely keeping their damage shields, yes. And in fact, I would like for their damage shields to even be a little more punchy. Punchy. Yeah, so let's see. Let's find a good... Hey, it's working now. Yeah. I always try to go too early into this cave. There we go. So, the magical fury pet. Hold on a sec. I need to hide the screen really quick. Okay. 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 I'm some of what I'm doing right now is taking a look at the starting point with some of these updated Summoner VFX to get some feedback in mind. I want to be able to give some feedback to Cody on some of these. Let's do this. Close you. There we go. Interesting. Get up in the air, get off the ground. Okay. That looks good. So you guys remember we talked about how we're going to be with the summoners leaning a bit more into this kind of puppet master vibe in a way. And part of what I really wanted there was a way to depict the concept of there being like mana threads, like threads of mana connected to the summoner and the pet. And that makes sense on a lot of levels. Particularly, you know, for example, like most of the summoner pet abilities will use a small amount of the summoner's mana to use them. And so the mana threads are there to kind of visualize like this pulse of mana that the summoner is sending to the pet and through the pet to actually use these abilities. And that's ultimately what this that's going to represent, that you'll see kind of flowing, you know, from the summoner to the pet. Eventually, I want them to look a little bit more like threads, like actual like threading. But this will do for now. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Let's look at the whole roster here. Titan. Made some fixes to the textures as well. Like you probably have been able to tell in the game that the texture resolution has been really low for these guys. Hold on one sec, guys. All right, sorry about that. Oh, Flange, sorry I missed you. Have an awesome day as well, if you're still listening. Sorry, Flange. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, Jalskar, I was thinking about that too when I was kind of messing with some of the coloration here, and the reason that the blue works really well is, for one thing, it relates to the so we want each class to feel unique, right? Like as a starting point. And the way that wizard magic versus enchanter magic versus summoner magic looks, both in the actual, like, you know, shape and components of the VFX, but also the color is a big deal. And summoners are very mana, they're very like mana bound and mana oriented, and mana typically, in Pantheon no exception, is depicted in blue, in a blue color. But like mana bomb, they're some, like the pets themselves, summoner pets are mana ghosts that have been connected to the Arcaneer bindings, and then imbued essentially and kind of fused with an element, or an energy of a type. In the Fury's case, they've been more just kind of like bound to mana itself as an energy. If you could think of mana as a kind of element. But anyway, it's intended to convey kind of the summoner's look, and the look of mana magic being that kind of blue vibe. So that being said, though, I had the same thought of like, well, you know, the it's not so much with the Zephyr, because the Zephyr's, everything looked more blue in there because the Fury has like a blue light that it gives off, so it's kind of making everything blue. The Undyne obviously has some bluishness, but I hear that. One of the things that I was thinking about doing is actually kind of bringing down the overall brightness a little bit, so it's not quite as it's like a very different kind of blue, but it's not as bright. But I just want to keep it in the realm, like you see, like the color of the mana magic underneath it. So I just want to keep it close to that realm, so it looks, yeah. Will that pet have mana or just cooldowns on abilities? The pets will use your mana pool as a summoner. Yeah, we do have some 4K textures, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. In a dark gray. Yeah. And if we did like if we kept like the blue in the accessories, and then yeah, just a few. Hey, what's up, Dougbug? Yeah, just a few little summoner odds and ends here. Nothing too big right now in terms of like summoner info, but yeah, just taking a look at a couple of things. Originally it was purple, but then the reason that I shifted it away from purple is because it's mana magic, and purple is kind of purple's already the wizard and the enchanter realm, you know? And so I wanted summoners to have a magical style, a magical look that was different, that was unique. The eyes are part of the overall like accessory pieces, so they're not actually like separate. Yes, Stugbug, I did fix them. Yeah. So like originally the color was, and it looks cool. Like, I mean, it does. Like having more of like a purpley color is cool. And it definitely offsets them. So maybe, you know, the little energy tornado down here does a lot of work for conveying energy and conveying the color, you know. And so maybe like here, let's do a little exercise here. If you do anything with colors, guys, anything with colors, where you're having to mix and match colors or like figure out comparable colors or complementary colors, Adobe Cooler Color, Cooler with a K, Kuler. This is the website that I use all the time, and it's like, it's amazing. It's the color wheel. Looks like this. So with this website, you can basically put in any color that you want, either the hex or the RBG number, and then you have basically the color harmony mode where you can choose, okay, show me monochromatic variants, a triad, complementary, split complementary. You can do shades. I mean, you can basically, and what I typically use it for is like complementary and split complementary to find like, so for example, in a situation like this, if we have this blue, this kind of electric blue down here, and I want to go purple, then I want to, you know, basically figure out what is this color so that I can look for what the complementary colors are to that, and then see, is there a purple, is there any kind of purple that I can find. Hey Radel, thank you so much for the Prime sub, man. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. 17 months of support. That's awesome. Radel, thank you so much. 0085CA, you got that one on just on dial? I mean, yeah. So then if we took that as kind of like basically what the blue glow is, and then we wait, I want to set you as the base color, and so this is our base color, and then we go to complementary. Don't see any purples. Oh, just like the icy blue itself, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's very striking, for sure. It's cool. And closer to where we were with the Fury, like the original Fire Fury. So what happens if we get him back in like a dark place? That's not bad. I was expecting it to be a lot more like blown out. That's cool. Flurry needs some tuning. No reason a green group mob should kill someone in a second with over 15 levels on it. Yes, I agree. 100%. I love this idea of mana threads linking the summoner to a summoned being, and the shared mana pool, the tangible element, and strings embodying something coming into existence having a link. Yeah. Yep. I'm glad that it's landing. Yeah, I mean, I'm down with this. I'm down with this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I like it. Cool. Yeah, going with the Puppet Master theme. Now, I will say this. That's one of those areas that I want to like set the expectation that when we do this summoner update, I don't think we're quite going to be able to achieve yet the full feel of the Puppet Master kind of thing, because a lot of that mechanically we will, but I'm thinking more visually. So the idea is like when a summoner's in combat with their pets, controlling their pets, you know, they need like a specific animation, you know, that really kind of conveys what they're doing. And kind of a rough framework for those of you that are more interested in the summoner. So you'll kind of have, I don't know, just like you'll have something to latch onto and be thinking about is the summoner is going to be somewhere between 70-30, 80-20 pet focused in terms of like when you are DPSing, which is your primary role as summoner, when you're DPSing in a group, you are going to like 70 to 80% of your output is going to be through your pet. And so when you let's say you have the Fury out and your your hotbar is probably going to have 4 or 5 abilities on it that are Fury abilities. These are things that your Fury is going to do through you in that sense. I push a button and my Fury does something. The other 2 to 3 abilities or whatever are going to be your personal summoner abilities. Both of them are going to cost mana. The pet abilities are going to cost you your own mana. So the pet abilities are going to come from your mana pool, and obviously your own personal abilities are. The summoner arsenal themselves, so we're reworking how the whole swarm thing works. I'm going to save kind of like the specifics for how it's going to look and how it's, all that until we're ready to kind of show it in action. But suffice to say, right now with the swarm line, you're hitting the button 3 times and then a 4th button to like fire it. Whereas in the new approach, the swarm line is essentially going to be a stacking dot. So it's going to be like I cast the ability and it puts a stack of this ticking dot on the target, and then I can stack that up to 3 times. And we might even do an instant cast with that, or at least through mastery, you could get that to be an instant cast. So it'll be very easy to kind of weave in to the other things that you're doing. And it'll also be visually depicted in kind of a unique way that I think is going to be really cool and reflect, the summoner uniquely. The next summoner specific thing that they're going to have for their own arsenal is a selection of different bombs, essentially. So you got the mana bomb. You're gonna have something that is themed a little bit like Mega Man, Clash Man from Mega Man 2 to be exact, which is a not a mana return bomb, but it's a damage dealing bomb. So it actually, kind of attaches to and kind of hovers around the target for a few seconds before it explodes. So it'll be a delayed explosion just like mana bomb, but it'll be for the purpose of dealing damage. And there'll be a couple of other selection of those bomb type abilities that you can use. You'll have your damage shields. And then, obviously you'll have your pet abilities. You'll have other things that you can use as well. So like reciprocation for your damage reflect, and a few other goodies. Then you're going to have your pets. And the way that we want it to feel is, let's say you got your Fury out. We want your gameplay with your Fury, as your Fury grows and you kind of fill out its arsenal, to have we want the pet kind of combat to be somewhat simplistic and flowy. And when I say simplistic, I want to be careful, because I don't mean like dumbed down. I just mean have a really strong, like you've heard me talk about before, where, when you engage with the target, you kind of know what you need to do to kind of get in a flow. And then you have some breathing room where it's not like a rotation where you start here, you end here, and you have to kind of like do it in this cycle or anything. But it's like with my Fury, for example, imagine like you've got your main nuke with your Fury, right? Then you've got, which is like a projectile. And so every however many seconds, if you've got your Fury out, the way you're primarily dealing damage in a sustained way, so track with me here, okay? Because that's important. In a sustained way is not going to be leaning into your personal damage arsenal, at least not heavily. So, stacking up your swarm dot type thing, that's fine. Building, up to 3 stacks of that in the course of a fight, that's fine. It'll probably be pretty standard. But leaning into like these bombs and leading into some of these other things that you're going to have, that's going to burn your mana down real quick. But it's also how you burst. So when you want to really open it up and deal a lot of damage very quickly, you can do that, but you're going to burn through your mana pretty quick, and it's going to be really leaning into your own personal abilities as a summoner. When you want to do more sustained damage, and that's leaning into your summoner abilities heavily alongside your pet abilities too. So you're still like attacking with your pet, but you're also then saying, okay, I'm just going to go ham here, and I'm going to like do all of my pets stuff, but I'm also going to like maximize everything I can do at the same time. And that's going to generate a lot of damage. But it's going to burn a lot of mana. If you're wanting to focus on more of a sustained approach, which would be more of your typical approach, then you're going to be doing that through your pet abilities. And so with the Fury, for example, I would start a fight as a summoner. I'd probably put my first stack, maybe I'd open with, putting my first stack of the swarm dot on the target while, casting the projectile nuke for my Fury. The Fury would also have, for example, an ability that is its own like magic damage dot. So maybe instead of opening with a projectile, I've got that magic damage dot put on the target. And then every time I hit it with that projectile, if that projectile crits, then there's another Fury ability that the Fury has, which becomes usable after a crit and is a guaranteed crit kind of thing. So it's this simple kind of loop of like nuking, like I'm acting like a wizard essentially through my Fury pet. I've got that magic dot ticking. I'm firing these projectiles in, and then if that projectile crits, boom, now I can use this ability, which is like this like really awesome hard hitting, magic damage. And it's this simple kind of satisfying loop. And the reason for that is because eventually you're going to have a second pet in the mix with Undine, and you have your own abilities as well. And so the goal is to not overwhelm the summoner with too many things to do at any one time. If you're, more skilled and you just have more mental bandwidth, then it just means you can maybe do that much more. But same for the Zephyr. The Fury and the Zephyr, we want them to have relatively simple but very satisfying DPS loops. I'll leave it at that for now. And the other change that we're planning on making is you are now going to start with both the Fury and the Zephyr at level 1. So right out of the gate, you're going to be able to choose between the two of them and kind of switch back and forth as you want to. And that gives you the opportunity to get used to magic damage pet, like a ranged magic damage pet, because the Fury pet is also going to be staying at range now and casting from range instead of running in and whatever. Or you can choose that Zephyr pet. So now you've got a magic damage and a physical damage option at level 1. The Titan pet will probably unlock through Mastery. If you choose to lean into, actually being more of a formidable, like, tanking presence in combat. And then the Undine will still unlock as it does now. It'll probably be a class quest that you can do at level 20 to get the Undine. So I think as a general kind of shape, it's going to make the summoner a lot more coherent in terms of a DPS class and having kind of a clear, coherent DPS loop to them, if you will. You're going to have, much more freedom between the Zephyr and the Fury right out of the gate to kind of get a good feel. The Titan will kind of be this interesting kind of wild card for summoners that choose to kind of go that route in Mastery and really explore what actual kind of like tanking that they're capable of with the Titan pet. It's actually kind of getting closer to what the current Enchanter pet is like, except not absurdly easily busted in OP, but actually, the idea of being a tanking presence in a group through a pet is actually really cool if it's balanced appropriately, and it doesn't have this like innate insane advantage over the other tanks, but through Master you could really like, kind of have some option to you there. So yeah, we think those will be really good changes and kind of help the class flow feel a lot better. Morkidian, thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. That's awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Morkidian. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Big time. Big time. And congrats to many of you for the ad blasting goodness. Hey, what's up, Super Trash? Oh, yeah, Mjolnir, you bring up a great point. Also coming with the summoner updates is we're finally looking at loadouts and the ability to have saved loadouts. Because, for the summoner, I mean, it goes without saying, like, when I summon, when I want to have like my Fury and my Undyne, then I want to have a loadout that's built for that. But if I switch to the Zephyr, I don't want to have to like remove everything and re-add it. And so the ability to save loadouts, but this will extend to all the other classes as well. It's just time. It's time we get it in, and it's time we start, you know, in light of all these updates coming in the spring, we really need to fully take a look at, you know, all of the constraints we have and how loadout saving and loadout switching will actually work, and get a lot of that in a good place. Yeah, the buff stuff will probably not change as early as the introduction of the loadout, so that's still something that we need to... That's something we really need to have in place by spring, like when all the, you know, all these updates come in. Since we're probably going to have the summoner updates before that, it's less likely that the buff changes and the LAS tweaks will come in at that point. But it's definitely part of it. So yeah, is the warrior going to get some love soon? Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, all the classes, when mastery comes in, all the classes are going to be getting a healthy heaping pile of love, because it's going to come with a lot of like general updates and tweaks and things like that to the classes as well. So as a healer, you have a different loadout for solo versus group. Yeah, that's not surprising to hear. So the thing I didn't mention with this quick little kind of summoner spot was I did not mention, you know, some of the summonable things that we're going to be introducing, because one of the goals is to make the summoner feel more summony, and so I'll hold off on going into those details for now, and then I'm actually going to start switching gears here and get ready to actually log in and play the game now, for a bit anyway. But that's coming in addition with the summoner changes. We've got some good, I feel like some good pet updates. Oh, I forgot to show you guys the maybe I can do it with a... What? I wanted to show you guys the summoner pet armor, but that's something else. I'll find it. But that's something else that is an important part of the summoner update, is actually, you know, their armor and their weapons and whatnot being more impactful. So you really feel a difference when you have them equipped. So. Yeah, Ray Dill, the Necromancer pets, the scaling of the pets, the Necromancer CC, you know, that's all, yeah, I mean, that's all baked into everything we're working on class-wise for the spring update, yeah. Side note, Joppa, nice job of doing an AMA with Neff. Communication has been really solid of late, and please keep that going. I'm super stoked for class breakdowns with Mastery as we head into spring. Oh, yeah. Me too. Yeah, the Reddit AMA is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's actually the I think that's the first Reddit AMA that we've done. I mean, I guess that doesn't sound too surprising since, you know, I don't. Given the state of what the the Reddit has been for quite a while, but yeah. Just let me play. Sorry, I kept meaning to respond to your question. So the summon behemoth, Um, I'm going to update the status of that as a maybe, and the reason is because the summon behemoth, it's like a lot of things. I would put it in the same category as like this the Ranger's silent arrow with the ability to kind of manually aim it and come in over the shoulder and have that kind of view where you can manually aim the shot. And as much as I would love that, it's like it's mechanically and then balance implication wise, it's like it's an idea that I love and it's something that I feel strongly about as a concept. And we need to make sure that it makes sense from a balanced gameplay perspective and have like a clear vision for it. So the idea, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, a long time ago when we did our class, kind of a big class update push where we didn't have a whole lot of information on the website even at that point, and there was a lot of people really what are these classes actually going to be like? This was many years ago. When we released the Summoner, that was the first time we put out this idea of this summon behemoth, where the Summoner is able to summon this kind of creature, this like wild, enraged creature of great strength, but they have to do it in tandem with an enchanter because only an enchanter can actually charm and subdue it so that it doesn't wreak havoc. And then that would give the enchanter, essentially a charmed, very, strong charmed pet that they could use. And so on the balance side, when it comes to the enchanter and charm and like how all these things are going to work, we just have to be really sure that it's something that, is going to survive going from like a flavor exciting immersive idea to having an actual use case in the game. So I'm just putting it as it's kind of a maybe. It's a maybe. Okay. And that's me, like you have to be willing, what's the expression? Like we use it a lot. Willing to kill your darlings, I think is what it's called. Like there's been, lots of times like that where there's been something that I've just loved. I've loved the idea of it, the concept of it. And it's either because it doesn't translate super well to the game or like it ends up being minimal add for like maximum complexity and whatnot. So anyway, Stormona. I think it would be great if you posted an FAQ at the top of the thread to address stuff y'all have already answered a dozen times, so you don't have to waste time repeating yourself and can focus on the good questions. Yeah, it's a good idea. Any info about summoning other players like Call the Hero? Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna hop in on the. Well, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? I just randomly feel like I want to just. Maybe we make a healer? Is it time to give the Cleric a spin? Is it time? This is my problem. I never know what I want to play. It's a good problem. That's a good problem. Glad to hear that about Necrowork. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Joppa, do you think after the 1.0 launch, you will continue to be as engaged with the community as you are now? Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I hope so. You know, so let me answer that question without like just stream of consciousness. I am engaged as much as I am because I want to be, number one. It is immensely enjoyable for me. So that, I don't see that changing. And so in that sense, I would say absolutely. Because if anything, like it's going to be just as, if not even more fun, you know, at that point to be able to engage, you know, with where the place the game is at and kind of where it's going. And, because there will always be that forward lean, you know, there will always be that, you know, what's the next patch? What's the first, you know, minor content update? What's the first major expansion going to be? You know, that kind of stuff. So that'll be really fun to stay engaged with you guys about. So any hesitation I have on just like saying absolutely yes on that is just going to be like kind of the unknown of like how crazy and how busy that's going to be. I'm just have to see, but my hope and my goal and my plan and my expectation is absolutely yes. Yes. Yeah, I want to play my Cleric. Like I haven't played Cleric yet, like legit. So, and we're doing a lot of work right now on mastery development and, you know, getting a lot of that stuff locked in. So I want to, you know, I need to try and get as much breadth in on these classes as I can. There's a lot going on, guys. Like, I mean, there's a lot being done. A lot. You want to go to the moon on the 3rd expansion? Oh my. Now see, I always play dwarf clerics when I can. And maybe I have been avoiding playing dwarves and ogres because some of the issues with the leg animating really bother me. But maybe that's exactly why I need to play a dwarf, so that it will bother me enough to like not be able to handle it not being fixed. So, super trash. Oh, you're saying goodnight to Mjolnir. Mjolnir, good night. Thank you for being here and hanging out. And yeah, we'll see where we can get the Cleric too, and we'll catch you again soon, Mjolnir. We'll go wisdom and wisdom. You guys think double wisdom? Joppa, I know you love dwarves, so you can explain their city in 3 sentences. The interesting thing... Hold on. Wait. I haven't started yet. I don't want to waste sentences and words by saying, you know, narrative drivel like the interesting thing. Kind of dig that, beard. The Dwarven City is unique in that the Bastion actually came with them. So unlike throne fast that was built by the humans on that, as they did on Terminus from start to finish. The Bastion comes from Oldasa, which is like the original, home of the dwarves. So that's one of the really cool, unique things about it, without even getting into anything else. Hold on one sec. I'm back. Do they even know how to fix their home if it breaks? Do the dwarves know how to fix their home if it breaks? Well, yeah, because I mean it was certainly damaged in the arrival. There's been plenty of skirmishes and various things over the many years, so I would say for sure. All right, confirm. Great. No, the dwarves did build it. They built the bastion. I'm just saying the bastion that the dwarves built and lived in Oldasa actually came with them in their arrival. Yeah. Different dwarves, but I mean, you have to imagine that as things do, the workmanship and the skills and the trades and various things passed down. So yeah, they know how to tend it for sure. Neurolumen. Now this is going to be interesting, like back and playing again like this, because I am going to be. I'm just going to be jonesing for like all the additions. Okay, let's get our bearings. Cleric. Oh, I'm excited to be on the Cleric. Healing Spark. Yes, please. Please. I want to read all of these things in earnest. Starting with Divine Brand. Cleric to geek. Brand your target with a divine symbol dealing minor damage. Yes. Healing Spark. Restore between 17 and 19 health. Guys, I don't know what it is. I love healers and MMOs. I have this weird... I don't know how to describe it. When I read that, restore between 17 and 19 health, there's something that like, it's like, how do you describe it? It's like like a spark. It's like a, yes. Nothing gets me quite as like excited and revved up as reading healing text. If this spell critically heals, Aegis will be applied to the target, absorbing 33% of the amount healed. And Censure. Smite an enemy with Celestial Wrath, dealing minor divine damage. Oh my goodness, yes, I am excited. It feels kind of like coming home. Look who it is. Galadried. Galadried. So, we are going to summarily skip the gathering crafting loop for this character, at least for right now. I want to focus on just getting some levels, getting some feels. In that regard, I'm going to allow the speed buff. I am. Yeah, see, like, it's weird, like, coming here and knowing, like, you know, it's not the same. But that just tells me that you know, everything's on the right track. Everything's on the right track. Okay, let's see if we can find some skellies. Just to kind of get the blood flowing here. Oof. Both of us looked like we were looking for skellies there. Oh. Okay. It begins. We're just going to kill everything we see. We're not even going to wait for skellies. Druid is so strong you don't even want to group with one? As a matter of fact, I don't, I need to, this is not how it should be. I don't want to develop the wrong muscle memory, guys. That's so important. R? Nope. We want it to be Shift G. That's what we want. Shift G. For the heal. No. G for the heal, R for the noob. Nope. T for the noob. Yep. Sorry, it's been a minute. I'm out of mana, and I'm almost dead. I wasn't even looking at my life. The love of a true Trinity system, indeed. Healing is the best. Keeping the group alive, going as long as possible. When I get compliments for healing, I feel good. I tell you, yeah, I love healing. I loved tanking so much more than I thought that I would, so that's cool. Like, I'm glad to have had like a much deeper experience tanking in Pantheon. And I'm not done with them either. You know, I want to keep moving all these characters up, but it's just time. I need to heal a bit. Now the pacing for the Cleric is interesting even already. So like, I did not expect to be out of mana that quickly, you know, without having healed anything. Part of that's just me getting used to, I've played Rogue. Whoops. I've played Rogue. I've played Warrior, played Dire Lord, Paladin. So we're getting back into a much more paced healer flow here. That was a resist. I mean, I know that Talisman is unhinged. I know that. And I know that's why druids are so strong. I mean, Talisman is insanely strong. Too strong. I don't want to do less nuking, Glorf. I want to do more nuking. Boom. Level 2. See, this person, same thing. Skeletons, they're juicy. You can't help it. You know? When you see one, you can't. Let's go with some fire beetles. I need some more chunky XP. I also just hit level 2, so curious what I get at level 2. I should have checked while I was there. That's chat's fault. You guys didn't remind me. Okay. Can handle Yellow Con with relative ease. Didn't even have to heal. I'm gonna be a little careful here. I'm gonna go ahead and heal. Ooh, first heal. Oh man. Okay. I'm gone. I'm gone. Like it's done. I have tasted. I have remembered. And just done. Healers. For the win. For life. This could be a problem. I'm already feeling that. I am already feeling the inordinancy. I paced a little bit too hard. I paced a little bit too hard. That was too strong of a pace, guys. I see that now. But what I was really doing was using that as an excuse to get back and sell. Okay. So, first thought right off the rip. Mend wounds and purify do not feel exciting. But they could feel exciting if bleed and poison was more of a factor at these levels. That's my first thought. Better Half Gaming, I arrived to see a dev die to a brown rat. That's true. That's true, you did. The important note there is that I was playing poorly. I was not pacing myself properly. So that's on me. But yes, the reality is yes, you did. You arrived to see that, and you know, we gotta do with that what we will. Mend wounds. So yeah, I mean, this is cool, but it would be awesome if there were like reasons to use it, you know? It's bringing back all these memories and thoughts to things like and I think EQ did it well, really well. And a lot of it, you know, I would attribute to the pacing of EQ. Where in the newbie yard in EQ, you could, you know, get poisoned. And that poison often felt like a death sentence. And that's one of the things I remember really appreciating about playing a cleric, or when I got, you know, my paladin to level 9 or whatever, and finally got a cleanse, a cure, because that made me feel like I didn't have to worry about those things like other classes did. I could, you know, take care of myself in that regard. But the pacing is important, and that's why with the upcoming changes to pacing and whatnot, time to kill, spikiness, we could incorporate some things at these lower levels, like a bleed or a poison from certain things that isn't going to just like chunk your health down and kill you in a second, but it's the kind of thing where you're like, you know, it would be amazing to have a way to counter this. Give clerics reasons as they're running by to cure people who need it. You know, you can, maybe there's, okay. See, I did it again. I did it again. I did it again. I know. Healing myself might have been a better choice. But guys, I'm not here to make good choices. I'm here to... You know? Yeah, rabies. That's one of the ones I was going to mention, exactly. How awful it felt to get that. And how nice it was to be a class that could deal with it. So all that to say, like, getting mend at level 2... Getting cleanse at level 3, I love mends. I mean, I love cleanses of all kinds. I love dispels. I love that gameplay. So yeah, we just need to clean up. Is this new, by the way? The name underneath the compass? I don't remember seeing this. That's cool. Wolfgar, I'm here to watch and learn. Yeah, well, you came to the right place. There is much to watch and much to learn. If you're here to learn the correct way to do things. That's nice. It's a good step in the direction we want to go towards, you know, having these, like, defined sections of the maps and stuff. The poison from the giant green snakes. I know. The dark weed snakes. Oh, yeah. The scary stuff. Definitely want to get these foragers when we see them, because they just... Look at the skellies, guys. Goodness. There's like 30 of them. Alright, I'm preserving my mana. I will nuke once to open the fight, and then I will preserve my mana until the next one. Or I need to heal. So, one of the things I'm going to say right off the bat, and some of you may not like this, and that's okay. But here's my hot take. I think that Faithful Strike belongs on the Cleric. I said it and I mean it. It was originally on the Cleric. I'm going to pull 2 of these and it's going to kill me. It was originally on the Cleric. It was moved to the Paladin. I think it needs to return to the Cleric. We're dead again. I knew it. Oh, oh, oh my goodness. Guys, that was so close. Oh man. That would have been ding too. That would have been glorious. All right, it's okay. You were glad to see it go from the Cleric? Well, the reason that I think it would work really well on the Cleric is I really like the idea that a Cleric could choose to be a stand back and cast Cleric or a melee healing Cleric. And with Mastery, I think we can support both pretty nicely. Now, that being said, yeah, I don't think necessarily it couldn't be on the Cleric and the Paladin. What I'm saying is just for sure, I think it belongs on the Cleric also. If not, you know, solely, but definitely also. And that would be an awesome, awesome kind of early level ability to kind of look forward to unlocking. So if you got like Faithful Strike on the Cleric at like level 4 or something like that, where you knew in those first 4, 5, 6 levels, you know, you have that really kind of, because it's such a, I mean, it's kind of a game-changing ability. Like it would make the difference right now in this experience so far between like having some form of like self-sustain efficiency. And I think clerics should definitely be like have some solid self-sustain, you know. I think all the juicy skeletons were juiced while I was away, and I don't blame them one bit, you know. What level is the character? We just dinged level 3. We are literally right hot off the press. But one place where we have, you know, made the decision to lean a little bit away from EQ, not completely, but a little bit, is specifically in recovery time and how long that actually gets. Now it will actually be a little bit more kind of a felt mechanic with combat with the upcoming spring updates, because TTK is going to be a little bit longer, resource management is going to be more important, and you know, I'm going to need to think a lot more carefully from fight to fight, not so much at these lowest levels, but it will be, you know, something that you're going to grow into over the course of the first 10 levels a good bit, which is that idea of like wanting to try to leave some fuel in the tank, you know, from fight to fight. Want to make sure that, you know, you've recuperated to the point where you can go the distance if you need to. But generally, the recovery time is definitely not what it was in EQ. EQ took a long time. There's a shambling skeleton. Look at him hiding back here. Look at him hiding. Oh, I love seeing that restoration still go up. Healing is such a powerful, like, concept. There's something about healers that like you have the power to replenish health. And that's really cool. There's something to that, you know? I think that's why I love it so much. Like, there's just this feeling of, like... That's such a powerful thing. And it's so weird after having played tanks, you know, for the last several... You know, hours and hours of playtime. To come from not having that ability, you know, and specifically be the person kind of soaking damage and all that, to be on the side now of like actually healing. It's so cool. I love healers so much. I think we probably will go back to a multi-cleanse approach, yeah, to group poison and disease together. I do want to have a better like counter and like stacking system, like cleaner when it comes to poisons, because I don't want just the fact that you have a poison or a cleanse to just mean that like you can cleanse anything, you know, like with one cast, like no matter how strong it is. I do want to get back to having a little bit of a you know, there's different degrees of strength of poisons and diseases, and you might have to cast it multiple times before you fully clear it. Cleric shields are where they shine. We'll see. Am I gonna get jumped by something here? I just had a feeling like it was about to happen. Okay, we're good. Oh, but you're running. Okay. Oh, hold on a sec. Sorry. Talking to Tim Schuler about our underwater visuals and starting to get that dialed in a little bit. Because if you hadn't heard, we have a brand new content area coming out soon called Badia Dakara, and the word on the street is that it has a little bit to do with water and underwater and the like. Mr. Zeke! Yo! Yo! Good to see you, man. Reinstalled today to start dabbling with the wizard changes. Got some learning in before the spring rolls around. Nice. Yeah, it's good to see you, man. Yeah, spring's gonna be so fun. Spring's gonna be so fun, and I definitely anticipate there to be a pretty sizable, like, just explosion of activity, and it's gonna be really, really, really good time. It's gonna be awesome. going to be awesome. And yeah, there's a lot. I mean, wizards are eating really good right now. There's a lot to learn, kind of get recalibrated around some of the recent changes, but they're able to do some damage for sure. Well, so Badia Dekara, what it should really be called, like the colloquial name, is Bay of Faces. Bay of Faces. That's what Badia Dekara means. Bay of Faces. And there's a reason why it's called that. So. Nice, man. Very nice. Yeah, underwater melee combat, like, you know, good NPC movement underwater, things like that. There's gonna be, I mean, you know, we talk a lot about the progression stuff that's changing and all the updates to the progression side of the game, but yeah, you got, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how you all react to the Bay of Faces, because there is a lot coming in with that update content-wise. A lot. Maybe it's attack that could also be the severity, like greater poison, but 2 stacks turns it into lesser or something could be good. Yes, the wall. That is planned. That is planned. Finn, I know underwater content is your favorite. I'm gonna die. I know it's your favorite. A stack that could, yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I'd like to do it a little bit better than how EQ did it. Even though they had it, there wasn't like a stack. It was more like you just had to, you just knew you had to keep casting it until it dropped. But I don't remember if there was like a message or something. Was there a message that said like, you know, this spell is not strong enough to cure this effect or whatever, or did you just kind of have to keep casting until it dropped? Catch Keep 2.0? I mean, like, it's so much more than that. But why? Why was the underwater content not good? Why? Because it's no, like, it's not like there's something intrinsic that just makes it bad, right? Like, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason that you would look at overland stuff and say, this was really good, but the underwater stuff was really bad. And what is that? Okay, so Z-axis woes. So now answer the question, what's bad about underwater content if you imagined it with none of those issues? What would your answer be then? If there were no Z-axis glitch issues, if there was no hitbox detection or whatever because you're underwater, there was no weirdness with like spell interruption and kind of drag that ended up, you know, making it hard to actually get a spell to cast because you're constantly moving, you know, Like what? Hey, prayerful rest. Oh, this is my mana return. Okay. Well, that's... What's the cooldown on this? Restore 20% mana, puts you in a weakened state for 10 seconds. The minute and a half cooldown. Okay. Drifting, casting slow movement, drowning, reduced sight. Nothing's bad. Vash here in the water is amazing. Okay. I mean, if we were wishing upon a star here, no offense, Joppa, you know I love y'all, but you were basically claiming you were going to make a thing generally accepted as terrible, not terrible. Most been able to do. Well, I know that underwater content is not for everybody, so I'm not saying that it's going to like revolutionize it and it's just going to be this thing that everybody loves. But anytime this topic comes up, I'm always interested in hearing freshly, like, what is it about underwater that makes it not enjoyable generally? Because I'm curious to hear if there will be some new data that maybe I haven't heard before from somebody. Boom! So let me give you kind of my manifesto for underwater. A couple of very important things. Number one, I don't think you can have good underwater content that more people will enjoy and have visibility that just sucks. There has to be a way, and I can look at something like a Subnautica, for example. In Subnautica, I never once felt frustrated by my visibility because most of the time visibility was relatively high. There were certain places where it was low or lower, but those were relegated to certain places. For the most part, you had an incredibly atmospheric, vibey, scary, enjoyable, amazing game built around literal, almost 100% submerged gameplay, and it had good visibility. So I don't think low visibility is like... I don't think you need that to have immersive underwater. So let's assume that in Pantheon, visibility will generally be good. Good. You know, appropriate. Like, it will have an underwater vibe and feel, but it will, the visibility will be good. The second major problem with underwater is movement, particularly movement speed and a feeling of like sluggishness for like fine movement. Pantheon, I think, you guys have heard me before, talk about how I think we've done an amazing job at capturing a really solid player controller. The polish and the responsiveness and the snappiness. I think underwater, for example, I don't think that your base movement speed underwater should be any slower than your base run speed. And I think some people might balk at that just for realism's sake or whatever. But I think the main thing that keeps people from getting in the water is the feeling that they're going to be moving slower than they would if they just ran. And so you end up kind of having this just built-in avoidance of water. And so if we treat... Because on land, you have movement speed buffs. On land, you have sprint. On land, you have these other things that lets you move even faster than run speed. Underwater, you will have some of those things. But I think as a starting point, you need to have basically the same movement speed underwater as you do on land as a starting point, so that you don't avoid the water just because you don't want to feel that feeling of slowing down. And then in some cases, you'll have, like, for people like the Dark Mirror, you'll have classes that can actually, or races that can actually move faster than run speed under the water as a baseline, which I think is cool. Okay, let's do a quick check here. So Shining Shield, we definitely want to get that. Tome of Fervor. Equipping this tome will enhance your ability to punish enemies with holy power, increasing your divine damage by 5%. Okay. And with courage, I'm definitely going to go with courage over that for now. Because I love HPAC buffs. I believe most people, including myself, don't like underwater content because as humans we live on land, so it's hard to feel connection to it, no matter how good the underwater system is made. That's fair. But again, I will look at games like Subnautica, like Sea of Thieves, which I probably should include Sea of Thieves because I don't think Sea of Thieves should be included as an example of a game where people like loved the underwater content, so probably remove that one. But Subnautica definitely continues to be like a thing to look at and say, this is an extremely popular game. Like, no one can deny that. There's a lot of reasons why it was. It's not just because of any one thing, but you would say that they did underwater well. So as a case study, it's like, if you can have a game like that that is so popular and so generally loved, that's almost all swimming, there's got to be something to that. Yeah, no, I know that, but I'm saying I think, and again, I could be wrong, but I think, and understand too that like when we talk about the water that's coming with this update, the Body of Dakara, the Bay of Faces update, it's not like the focus is the underwater stuff. That's not the focus. That's not like the you know, main attraction. It's just that we are introducing an area that is a water-based area, meaning that, you know, there's going to be islands, there's going to be places to travel to, there will be certain underwater elements, you know, that are related generally to the content, but you know, you will be able to you'll be able to do and experience most of the content in this area without ever going under the water. And I say most, meaning like, you know, there will definitely be some things you miss if you do that, and they're not insignificant, but there's going to be plenty of things above the water surface that, you know, might be part of it. So I mean, it's again, I'm just saying that just to stress that like the point with this of this update is not like it's going to be this entire underwater zone and like it's all going to be underwater and all this stuff. That's not it at all. It's just that it's a big bay, you know, and we have to start accounting for water as it exists in the game, and we want to start incorporating some aspects of water into exploration and progression through different areas, and so yeah. There definitely will be some of that magic page. There will be unique things under the water that can hinder you or help you. Like the notion of currents, for example, is something that we're going to be exploring, and you can use currents to your advantage as travel helps. But then also there'll be places where you have to figure out how to, you know, work around currents or figure out how to shut different currents off or various things like that. If they're more man-made currents. Obviously you've got, you know, the breath mechanic, and but there will be ways under the water to replenish your breath as well. It won't all be just like you either have an enduring breath spell or you need to surface, but there'll be, you know, certain things that you can interact with that can refill some of your breath. There'll be certain, you know, like brain coral type things in Subnautica where these bubbles that come out that you can kind of use. You've got the pressure mechanic where, you know, the deeper you go, the more pressure starts to grow, and so you have to be more calculated when you're trying to get to areas that are like super deep. More calculated, but also more like specifically equipped for that. So, yeah. And I think as we are able to, over time, develop out more of our, like, seafaring mechanics, you know, particularly in the realm of, like, you know, everything from rafts to eventually, you know, things like player-piloted ships and whatnot, I think having the underwater as, you know, part of a potential place that you can engage with is all part of that, like, verisimilitude of the world, and just feeling like there's a whole world beneath me, you know, which is, I think, a very important vibe. Oh yeah, no, Finn, you're good. No, I really am very aware that, I mean, even like Convo, like, one of our designers, one of my really good friends, like, he hits me with that a lot because he's not a big fan either, and he's like, I don't know why we're putting, you know, time into this, and I don't disagree with him in some ways. Like, I understand the pushback, but I feel like climbing and the underwater content are both so important to the overall world feel, and if we play our cards right, I would want it to be something that, yeah, if a player just has absolutely zero interest, they don't have to engage with it. That's okay. Like, I think that's good. Like, that there's these parts of the world and aspects of the game that, you know, the game is big enough and strong enough in its, like, breadth and depth that you don't have to do everything or go everywhere. You know? By the way, Nane Speed, thank you so much for the Prime sub. And Zanos, thank you for the Prime sub as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Well, and that's the thing too, like, I don't want to do what WoW did with an underwater zone. I don't know that we'll ever do, like, a Kedge Keep. I don't know. Maybe we will. I really like having underwater sections of zones. But even if you swam to the bottom of the ocean, because remember, like, the other cue that we're taking from Subnautica largely is how do you create underwater areas that don't end up like what WoW did, which I didn't enjoy WoW's underwater zones either. Because it was a whole zone experience underwater. It was the same as an overland zone underwater. So you had all the quests, you had all the places you had to go, you had to, like, go here and do this and then come back and go here and do this and come back. It was the full loop, but it was just all done underwater. What I loved from EQ is the fact that in Norath, on that planet, existed massive bodies of water that most people didn't go in. Like, honestly, that was kind of part of the charm of it. And it wasn't that there was, like, all of these underwater POIs and quest hubs and stuff like that to do everywhere. It was just this massive expanse. What I want to do in Pantheon is, if you're, like, sailing on a ship and you just stop in the middle of the ocean, that there's this thought in your head of, like, something could be down there. But that something is not going to be, like, it could be a shipwreck. It could be you know, some special like gatherables that only grow under the water. It could be, you know, some flotsam or whatever they call it, flotsam, that you know, has like a treasure chest in it or some supplies. It could be like a little, you know, some ruins, some submerged ruins or underwater ruins that do have a few NPCs here and there and some things to check out. There could be a dungeon, but even that dungeon, I would envision that dungeon, even if it is at the bottom of the ocean, that it would have inside of it a mixture of submerged and dry areas inside of it, where you have that mixture. Because there's something about entering the water and exiting the water in a place that you are abiding in that I think keeps it fresh, that keeps it better. And then, yeah, like if you go under the water, you poke your head under the water, there are some times where you're going to see these massive silhouettes of things that freak the crap out of you, and you want to get back out of the water and never go into it again. And that, when you think of that as an overall presence in the world, that's what excites me about water and underwater specifically. It's not like that I have this specific passion about, I love underwater zones or like even underwater content specifically, as much as I love what it does for the world overall. And I love like experiencing it in bits and pieces. You know what I mean? Hey, Lethal, what's up? It's good to see you, man. Just collecting some info to try to convince some friends to play in the spring after the wipe. Is there another raid boss coming soon with underwater with the spring update, or can we expect to continue to have Tel Daedrus? And will Tel Daedrus be a 25-man instance raid with the spring wipe? It won't be instanced come spring, no. It won't be instanced yet. We could see, well, I don't even want to say that. I don't want to say anything even remotely related to a time frame, but I can say confidently that it won't be instanced come spring. Whether there will be additional raid targets is a maybe. It's a maybe. It's I would reference like something like a stretch goal for the potential for something like that come spring. Yeah, but Tel Daedrus will definitely still be available. It just won't be instanced. Hey, Joppa, I'm outside on a walk while listening to the stream on my phone. The sprinkling rain on my umbrella in real life mixed with the Pantheon's music and sound effects are a beautiful vibe. That's awesome. That's cool, Green Jericho. I feel like I just got transported into that vibe as you said that. That's cool. Yeah, Hurricane, exactly. It's the knowledge that it exists that makes the world feel bigger in and of itself, you know? And I think that's really cool. And important. It's the same thing that I don't think we've achieved yet, by any means, but it's the same ultimate goal that I have always had with climbing as well, is that climbing would be doing the same thing for the land, the topside vertical aspects of the game, so that when you see a mountain or a cliff or various things, that you have that same sense of like, I wonder what's up there, you know, and just knowing that there are things to find, which again, you know, like I said, I would not say that we are there yet by any means, but knowing that those heights and depths exist, and the kind of stories and myths and legends and rumors and stuff that can circulate with games, when places like that exist, I think is all part of it. Is the spring wipe going to be from front to back? Asking the real questions, Wolfgar. Asking the real questions. How do you check to see if your account's been banned? Well, like if you're talking about like your actual like game account, I would ask in Discord. That would be my first step. Yeah. Did you guys cut the BS and just make Dark Elves yet? We haven't. We are still the BS is still fully intact in that regard. We have not made Dark Elves yet. And I'm not meaning to imply that we will either in that statement. That's yeah. I'm not ruling it out. I think there's actually legitimately there is some precedent for doing that at some point as the antithesis of the Lucent Elves. And we kind of built it that way with that in mind, but you know, there's nothing concrete on that at the moment. What about bards? Any idea when? I know when. You guys don't know when, but I know when. There is a when, and I do know it. Spent a lot of time talking about bards with Phil, PVL, yesterday, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And I don't say that to be cruel. I am not saying that to be cruel. I am just stating, honestly, I'm stating it for the opposite reason. I'm stating it so that you guys can take heart to know that there is a win. It's just not, we just haven't announced it yet. So. Would love a Dark Elf option, especially if the Dark Elf could be a monk. How about if the Dark Elf could, how about if there was an illusion? How about if Dark Elves could not be monks, but you could get an illusion that would make you look like a Dark Elf? Imagine that. Imagine something like that. How crazy would that be? Papa Hills, I know you've seen the stream enough to know that I cannot say anything related to any kind of a date or an expectation setting. As much as I would like to. Anything to share on Summoners? Well, yes, Draketh. So, once the stream's over, if you check out the VOD and the first, like, bit, we actually talked about Summoners quite a bit, looked at a few things. Definitely some good info on Summoners. It's not, like, the full kind of class, like, discussion and reveal or anything like that yet, but, we talked about some stuff, yeah. Dribbit B. Gordon. This is my dark elven friend, Dribbit B. Gordon. Yeah, that's a pretty fire idea, Ben. Pretty fire. Yeah, pretty soon, we're gonna have to work out kind of the logistics of it, but, there's been enough, like, feedback on, like, some of the things, like my dev client, like the after combat recap and the levels next to the name and things like that. And also just, I mean, it's on me, but, technically speaking, I should not be playing on the live servers with a dev account. Just to kind of be above reproach, as they say. So we're gonna migrate my characters over to a non-dev account soon, which won't really. I mean, obviously, it won't change anything about what I'm doing with these playthroughs. But it's just, oh, look at the little puddle skitter, because it's raining. Did they drop anything exciting? That's migrating characters is still a dev only option. That's true. Yeah, you got me there. I'm really looking forward to the bars. Just wondering if they feel good. What I told some of the team yesterday when we were talking about it, I was like, I mean, I think I said it on stream last time too. I want the Pantheon bard to be the best bard ever. I want it to be the best bard ever. When people think about the bard class in MMORPGs, I want them to cite Pantheon as like the best. Not only because of how it plays and how it functions in combat, but because of the overall experience of being a bard in this game, with how much we can leverage instruments, music, song, the PVL. I mean, PVL's, I mean, you guys already know this. Our audio team, like, they're amazing. They're amazing. And what makes it even more exciting is not only are they amazing audio engineers, they're also amazing musicians. And not only are they amazing musicians, they are huge EverQuest players. Historically, they are huge Pantheon fans and players, and they are also huge Star Wars Galaxies, Lord of the Rings players, and understand multiplayer musicianship in MMOs where multiple people can come together to play music together with like a sense of real instrumentation. And so you put all that together and it's like, yeah, like we want this to be an experience of being a bard in an MMORPG that is just on another level. And I'm confident we'll get there. So, like I always say, it's taking a long time. It needs to be worth the wait. It will be worth the wait because we really are, you know, kind of going all out to make it amazing. If Bard came with the spring wipe, there would be a lot of wipe hype. Yeah, I know. That would have been cool if it could have coincided like that. But it'll have its day. It will have its glorious day. Yeah, he did. The Vanguard Bard was excellent, and you know the good news is we're pulling quite a bit from the Vanguard Bard, as well as the EQ Bard, and as well as a few other muses. If you want to be the best, what do you consider the current best? Well, what I mean by being the best is like, I think the EverQuest Bard was, you know, top 3 high points in barddom. I think the Vanguard Bard was in the top 3 high points of barddom. And I think the I would put kind of the Lord of the Rings expression of the bard as another angle of a high point of barddom. And so those 3 for me represent mechanically the creme de la creme. So being the best bard is finding the right expression and combination of those elements and leveraging the mastery system to kind of allow for some different types of bard expression depending on what you want to lean into more. But the other thing that's going to help us achieve that goal is what I was describing with like the sonic elements of the bard and the idea of having what feel like real instruments, a real stringed instrument that plays and sounds like a real stringed instrument, real woodwinds, real brass, real percussion, these things, and feeling them in combat, hearing and feeling the synergy in combat with those things, but then also in the social aspects of the game, being able to incorporate that musical element from the place of being a musician character. I think the sum of all that is kind of what I think of in achieving that goal. Just don't do a Final Fantasy 15, 14 bard that shoots a bow. Yeah, that might suck. Hey guys, hold on one sec. All right, we're back. We're back. Yeah. Okay, let's take some quick stock here. So we got level 5 on our Cleric. We have gained Prayerful Rest to get our a little bit of mana back. With that technique, we've got Labor Blessing, deals minor damage, minor melee damage, removes the mana cost of your next fast casting healing spell. What? Okay. That's... I mean... Yep. That's something. We got Shining Shield, envelop the target in a luminous shield for 20 seconds, absorbing up to 45 damage plus 15% of your maximum health. I like things like that, because it's like, you know, every time your health goes up, your shield's gonna get stronger, so. I like that we have maintained that. It's got like a weakened soul component to it. Okay. And then, yep, HPAC. Okay. Okay. This labored blessing. So that means 2 seconds or less. So that would definitely... What did it say? Removes the mana cost. It's a 30-second cooldown though. So... We'll do... Are you guys as, like, contemplative about your key bindings? Like, where are you going to put it, and what is it going to be, and, like, where do you want it on the bar, and you go back and forth, like, okay, I'm going to make it R. No, wait, I'm going to make it Shift R. No, actually, I'm going to make it V, you know? Like, okay. Just curious. Executes go on 9, kicks on 8, self-heals on 7. You always use the same layout? Really? Does that mean, like, cross-class? Like, you could have, like, a DPS class or, like, a healer, and you would still have kind of the same group similar spells? Okay. Yeah. Yes, I'm on a dwarf cleric. What do you mean, yuck? What? Papa heals. Yes, I'm on a dwarf cleric. Oh man, no, dwarfs, like, I mean, that I am always a dwarf cleric when the option exists. Always. You know? And if that's wrong, I don't want to be right. Got a little bag. Got a little bag. The dwarves need a flip jump. I'd be okay with a flip jump. Am I like 7 foot tall in real life and you pick a dwarf to feel different? No, I am definitely not that tall. I am not very tall. I'm like 5'10"-ish. So yeah. And maybe that's why I go dwarf, because I wanna keep it consistent, you know? I'm hopeful one day to there's still some people on our team that I've never met in person that I talk to all the time and like know really well, but I've never actually like spent time with them in person, and some of them are very tall, so it would be very, very fun to kind of yeah, stand next to them, I guess. Where are all the skellies? Oh, this is actually... We had a good chat about this last week, where one of the issues with our population currently is how you can have, for example, like it's nighttime, you should see a lot of skeletons at nighttime, and sometimes you can run through and not see a single skeleton. Sometimes you can run through and it's like everything's a spider, and we're going to be making some tweaks to that to, you know, shift more towards having like, I don't want to put hard numbers on it, but I mean, you can think of it in terms of like, if we take our current population in this area, which is all spawner lists, it's So, meaning it's all like, and they're all the same spawner lists. Like there are some spawners that have like fire beetles plus one or two other things. These spider spawners have like spiders, snakes, rats, bats, like they have like several different things that it can be. But what happens is you have people that are running through looking for specific things. They see those things, they kill them. It happens to respawn as a spider. And those spiders are skipped and ignored looking for the other things. And then you can get to a point where nobody wants to kill the spiders, and so there's just all spiders. And so we're going to tweak some of these gen pops to be a mixture of spawner lists and like static spawns, where, you know, this is always a skeleton, this is always a fire beetle, this is always a this, so that while there could still be times when it gets heavy of certain things, you would always have, you know, you'd always have a guaranteed variety, because of that, which is, you know, EQ did that a lot. Like there were a lot of like zones where you knew that, you know, this spawned here and this spawned there, and it was nice like knowing that you had those anchor points even as you were, you know, hoping for that spawn in some of the other areas too. So anyway, just a random aside. Need more boars. And yeah, I mean, yeah, we could also, I mean, there's plenty of room for like dynamic spawn stuff and doing a more thorough population shift when nighttime falls, a more thorough population shift when it's raining. We definitely want to lean into more of that too. We've only scratched the surface on that stuff. But it's more of just kind of like a gen pop type situation, a tweak to kind of help the gen pop feel a little better. I was listening to a podcast, Live Taps and Backstabs. They talked about percentage mana cost for a class. Can't remember which, but I do agree with the stance that I am not a fan of a percentage of my mana for a spell as my mana pool increases through levels or gear. Thoughts? I agree. I generally agree. We try to be very... It's possible that we might kind of move away from using that at all for any ability on any class, but it's definitely something that we don't lean into a lot because it's not, it doesn't feel as good, for sure. Same reason that we've moved away from and have tried to remove all instances in combat with NPCs where NPCs abilities were doing damage based on a percentage of the player health. For the same reason, it just doesn't, you don't ever feel like you're getting stronger against abilities like that. All right, let's try this new technique out here. Ooh, nice. Okay. Yeah, an area can have multiple spawner lists, but a single spawn point can only have one spawner list. So like, you think back to when you've seen like our Odin editor and the little yellow dots that represent a spawn point, each of those can have its own spawner list, which can have as many different NPCs on it as you want, and you can weight the spawn chance of those NPCs within that spawner list. And you can have literally a different spawner list for every single yellow, you know, spawn point if you wanted to. But you can't have multiple spawner lists on the same spawn point. In the latest news drop, y'all mentioned updating to release-ready systems. How much of the game would you reckon is going to be TouchNet update? Sorry, did you say reckon? Nice. How much of the game touched in that update? A lot. There's going to be a lot of the game touched in that update. The goal is to, yes, to push out release ready systems, meaning the progression systems, the classes, a lot of the tweaks that we're making to combat, to stats, to skills, like all of these things would be in the kind of launch ready form. And there are things that means and things it doesn't mean. It means that, you know, that will be the end of kind of like realizing and implementing systems like mastery, like, you know, how we ultimately want the skill, like class skills to function and how we want them to progress, and the rates of progression and the pacing of combat and the overall kind of like arsenal of the classes, things like that. What it does not mean is that there won't be any more tweaks, balance tweaks, you know, the addition potentially of an ability here or an ability there, potentially, you know, moving what level classes get a particular ability as we find that, you know, maybe it would work better coming in earlier or later. So it doesn't mean that there won't be additional tweaks. It just means that cool. See, like that should like light back up when that happens. But it just means, yeah, that the form will be intact. Hopefully that made sense. I feel like I lost track of what I was saying there a couple times. Oh, I'm just having a good old time here, inviting all kinds of skellies. Yeah, this is huge. The labored blessing thing's huge as far as like that solo tool. When you're in a pinch. Yeah, cool. Moist Rebellion, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. That is awesome. That is awesome. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you. Dagger. Oh, wow. Did I really kill 4 of those things just in one go? Okay. Okay. I mean, they're level 1 and 2, so, you know, it's not. But, well, actually, there might have been a level 3 in there. Turdock. Will we do GM events? I never got to do any, and after a point, they never happened in a queue. I mean, yes, like, honestly, those are the kind of things that I get really excited about, because I want to be part of those, you know, when I can. We used to do those, you know, back when we were in, like, the true pre-alpha phase of things, we used to do kind of end of session events where, you know, we would come into the game, and there was a couple of times I remember, like, with GM Shout, kind of like lore speaking and kind of setting the stage and, you know, kind of DMing a little bit, you know, in real time, and it was so fun. So yeah, I would love to do stuff like that. Love my cleric, but I hate going into Helnir Cave with them. Can't sit, can't hardly med. People want to move forward and not camp a bit. Makes it hard on mana, even with prayerful combat. Yeah. You know, the one experience I've had on the cleric a long time ago now, like, I mean, not super long time ago, but before I started doing these, like, play session streams, I mentioned this, like, last week or week before, like, one of the catalysts to start doing these is because I got so much shade thrown at me when I came in on a cleric and, like, was set to level 10, and we were purposely trying to trio Halnir Cave, myself and Fusoya and I think Ronik, I think, and we did not do well, and I certainly did not do well healing, which is kind of beside the point. But one of the things I felt was exactly that. Like, I really did not enjoy it all that much because I felt like I was never able to get my footing and get into any kind of a flow state with healing And I'm not saying I want healing to be easy and casual, you know, in all cases, but I also was really struggling to feel that sense of like, I'd never feel like I have enough mana. I'm always low on mana. I don't feel like I can respond to what's going on when things get really tough. So a lot of that is going to improve in the spring with the sum of all the changes we're making to adjust the pacing of combat. And we still want those like pucker moments and stuff, especially with healers, but on the whole, we want a little better flow and pace for sure. So yeah, I definitely feel you with that one. But what's going to be interesting playing a cleric now is there's a lot to be said for hopping in on a class totally dry. Totally dry and, you know, going into a group situation like that. So I'm interested to see how it goes actually playing a cleric from the ground up, having the muscle memory, you know, understanding the abilities more, you know, in kind of a lived way. So we'll see. I definitely, my like ultimate power fantasy for the cleric is a melee-oriented cleric. I think I've told you guys that before at some point on a stream. Like what initially made me fall in love with cleric was looking through my I don't even remember who it was. Like a I guess it was a friend's D&D monster manual or dungeon manual, dungeon companion, whatever they're called. And just seeing like art, seeing like illustration of a cleric with this like amazing warhammer and really cool armor. I can't remember if it was plate armor or what it was, but it was like, it was that the setting of that fantasy of the first time of like this like absolute Chad with this massive hammer shield. And I love warhammers. Warhammers are my favorite kind of weapon, like IRL and in most games. Like I love warhammers. So I love the idea of like a melee cleric, a cleric that can be up in the fray, a cleric that can wear plate mail armor that has, you know, wielding their weapon, their shield, but they're healing from that place. They're healing in that context. I also like stand back and heal. I loved the Holy Paladin in WoW. That's one of my favorite class experiences of all time. And so I really like that playstyle as well. And I'm hoping through, you know, properly tuned and designed mastery that clerics would be able to do both, depending on what their, you know, what their power fantasy is or their preferred playstyle. But yeah, I love the idea of being up close and healing based on like melee actions and having like splash healing and like PBAOE heals, but also having some like direct heals and heals that, you know, trigger through melee events. That's the kind of stuff that gets me excited. I think we're gonna hit level 7 here, guys, and we're probably going to call it a day for now, because I do have some other work things I need to do. I also need to eat, because once again, I have neglected to do that for too long, and it's starting to kind of like, starting to feel it. Level 6, by the way, not level 7. Before I end the stream, though, we are going to go sell and buy new abilities. Ding! Name speed. I 100% agree. There are too few named that are soloable or able to be done by duos and trios reliably. Most named, there's either not enough, or most of them are like group NPCs currently. So one of the big shifts that's coming in the spring, arguably one of the most important or most affecting changes, is the removal of the chevrons, the removal of group NPCs from the game, and a unifying of all NPCs, so that And the goal there, again, the goal is not to make the game into a solo game, but the goal is to get closer to what the EverQuest experience was, which is depending on the class, depending on your skill as a player, depending on your gear, depending on your level, and depending on the specific area or place or whatever. Right now, there's an artificial wall that means it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. You're gonna die. Like you can't carve your way into any kind of like group centric area. You can't carve your way into a dungeon or anything like that. You certainly can't, go scoping places out and with the possibility of maybe finding a named. I mean, even like something like what's his name? I'm gonna forget it. God of Pharaoh's brother, Thorin, isn't it? On my necromancer, when he was green to me. I found him up in AVP and I was like, hey, I'm a necro. I feel, pretty competent in the class. I'm gonna go for it. And I got absolutely obliterated. That is not a good feeling. Like that chips away at, again, the world feeling like it's able to be explored and adventured. Now, the key is, it is a group-centered game, and so, again, the point here is not to make the game soloable. The point is to open up options for solo players, duos, trios. But then, groups are still going to be, just like they were in EverQuest, highly capable, much more capable of pressing into more dangerous areas, going deeper into these places, being more efficient, in their leveling, and generally able to handle, when stuff hits the fan, much better. So the goal is to create more of kind of a good kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but just more of a freedom, and playing the game the way that you want to play the game, having more options to do so than you do currently. So you're gonna hit 7 in no time, go for it. I'm tempted. Normal content should be group for most players. Solo content should be weak. Normal content. Yeah, better half. I think that is what you have to do currently with that issue. Yeah. Does that mean you're conceding the bolt wager, or you still think you can take him on at 24? I'm pretty sure, knowing what I know now versus what I thought when I said that yeah, I don't really think it's going to be doable at all. Not even close. We've been doing more short videos like you did back in December. I like those. I did too. The reason I'm not doing more shorts and just more like kind of edited, like curated YouTube videos in general is because as it stands right now, I am having an issue simulcasting to Twitch and YouTube, and also recording in high enough quality to then have like the base footage to edit. Because if I try to edit one of the streams, the quality is so bad when you download a VOD of a stream and try to edit that as your base, because then you have to re-upload it again, and it just looks really bad. So I think there's an issue though, because my PC that I record to locally, that I also stream from, is definitely capable. I have extremely high upload speed. Like upload is not a problem at all. So it's just me troubleshooting like what's going on with the fact that when I do record locally, and some of it honestly I haven't really found definitive advice on like the best settings for doing that, for recording locally and simulcasting, and kind of the bit rate and the different settings that you want to use to do all those. So I guess this is the long answer. The short answer is I need to figure out how to get good quality local recording that I can do while I'm streaming. It's getting harder for me with how busy everything is with development to find time to like play and record off stream. So that the answer is I want to, and hopefully I can figure it out. Okay. So I'll see a Glorfin game somewhere. I mean, I am going to give it a try. I'm not saying I'm not going to try to take him down. So once I hit 24 on my Necro, I am going to try and take Bolt down. If I cannot take him down, then I think something can be arranged. Not yet, Extremities. No word on the timing of Charm yet, but in terms of like if we'll see it before the spring update. We will see it by the spring update, but it'll come in, you know, when everything else comes in for the different classes, so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nicodemus, yes, you can find Bronson. Monkey Pit, I think, is the name of his channel. And he is, I think you already know who Bronson is. I think he's one of our main artists, and he streams sometimes. And currently, that's the only other person that streams on the team. Yeah. I had so many people not wanting to play due to Chevrons and Enchanter Pet not being implemented. About 95% of the EA folks stopped logging in as well. Yeah, I think you'll see Ex Mocha. I think we're going to see some big changes to that come spring. I think honestly, a lot of the things we're doing come spring are going to be, it's hitting a lot of pain points, you know, consistent pain points. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. Mail, auction house, no chevrons, class kits, mastery, unified NPCs with, you know, the pacing that comes with that, brand new content, you know, new art, new itemization, different leveling speed, changes to, you know, more rare named NPCs, some really, really good updates and improvements to just loot in general, character progression in general. I mean, it just, the list goes on. So I'm excited to see what things look like in the spring. And I think it's really going to set the tone and the pace for, you know, the rest of the development process till we hit 1.0. I think it's going to be a huge refresh for a lot of people. And I think Pantheon will do so much of a better job of retaining people's interest with once those updates come in. So I'm excited. Very excited. Will Charm function similar to how it did in EQ? It will. It will. There will be a few key differences and some improvements. Because, for example, like you'll be able to, not for all NPCs that you charm, but you'll find the ones where you'll actually be able to use some of their abilities, like yourself. You'll be able to actually access some of the abilities that they have, which is going to be kind of a cool, I don't know, like layer of depth for like strategy around charm. Can you take the book off the cleric's shoulder? I can't stand it. Yeah, I'm not. I want it to be better. I want that the tome aspect of the cleric to be more fully developed, and it'll definitely involve kind of tweaking how we handle the visual of it. Yeah. Hate on my hair sticks out of the top of hats. Yeah, we need to fix that. That shouldn't be happening regardless of the hairstyle. It should be able to handle the hair and the clipping and stuff like that much more. I think there's just some issues with some of the female models in particular, so they'll definitely improve for sure. All right, guys. I'm I'm gonna call it a day. I'll let you know if we end up doing like a bonus stream on Friday, like we do sometimes. And yeah, we'll keep on trucking. But good things coming soon, guys. I can't talk about it yet, but yeah, there's, you know, keep an eye on things, and depending on how the week goes, you know, we might do a bonus stream just to kind of talk about some stuff and whatnot. So, but as always, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to try to clean up the YouTube VOD a little bit, kind of cut out the intro and some of the dead air. So if if you're planning on like watching the YouTube VOD at all, then should be a little bit nicer. But please like and follow, subscribe, comment, whatever you say on the YouTube side, just to help the algorithm monster. But guys, generally speaking, just please know how much I appreciate you guys being here and the support and the excitement and the energy and the discussion and all that. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys again very soon. And until then, have an awesome rest of your waking time. I will see you very soon, my friends. Adios.